I'm going to start by sharing my screen. So what we thought we'd do today is go through the board meeting, let you know about some things, and then there's going to be some time at the end for questions. Feel free to put things in the chat while we're going along. We won't actually turn to the chat until the end, but if we've got some questions in there, we'll know that that's what people are wanting to know about. Yeah, I think that's, people have just sort of, there's a bit of a lull in people coming in. So as you might have heard a message saying the session's being recorded. So that's for, obviously, for people who couldn't make it at this particular time. We're going to be able to, they're going to be able to replay the meeting. And I can see you're all already doing this, but just so that everybody can hear, we just asked everyone to remain muted while we're going through, and then we can, if you have questions at the end, people can come off mute at that point. So let's get started. Greg, can you see the main presentation screen? Yes, lovely. So there we are. So this slide is mainly about, just, I guess, really importantly, the reason we have these meetings is because this is your society. It's here for you. I know that we are incorporated in the US, but we're actually an international organization. As you can see from today, we have people from all over the world involved. And the idea behind it is to advocate for people no matter where they're based. And I guess we're really lucky that we have the Facebook group, which is obviously accessible all over the world, and our website. We try to remain as accessible as possible. It's letting a few more people in. Sorry, I'm just having a bit of trouble with being able to see what you guys can see. Greg, can you see the screen that says about the board or about the society?
Yeah, I can now. I think it took a moment to load, but yeah, I'm seeing it.
One's green. Which one?
This is your society, it says.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. I thought you could see that before, but here you go. Here's the slide about what I was just talking about. And hopefully you can see introducing your board. So that's 3 of us there. Obviously me, I'm sure you all know all of these people. And Monica Pendleton, who is the Treasurer and Vice President. We're all officers of the board, and Monica oversees the finances and tax returns, state registrations, and does so much work, especially when it comes to conferences that we've had. And Arika is the secretary and also a board director, and is responsible for, I guess, the society's official documents, and all of the incredible graphics you would probably already know under Arika's remit, including designing our logo. And we also have on our call today Molly, a board director, and Kevin also. Thank you both for joining. And Molly has done numerous things, but one thing you may remember is the beautiful ornaments that she arranged last year. And Kevin, yes, our marketing guru, is also on our call, and some of the slides later on, Kevin's going to take us through. Greg is also executive director of the organisation, and yes, keeps us all in line. And Karen's recently joined as grant officer, as well as Gretchen Grundon. We've been applying for grants kind of along the way, and they've just done incredible work on that front. And just mentioning too, Kirsty, sorry, I'm saying your name incorrectly, Kirsty, is also on the call here. I saw you there earlier, Kirsty. Founded our Facebook group along with Erica in the very early days, and Claire Daly does our Instagram account, and Roberto works in Italy on the Xia-Gibbs Italia organization, and Dougal also set up the UK Facebook group for people in that part of the world. Really important to mention too is our scientific advisory board. We have Megan, who, as you all know, is mum to Cora, and works as a veterinarian as well. So, has incredible knowledge when it comes to all of this, when it comes to kind of, I guess, the genetic side. And then Dr. Wendy Chung. Yeah, we're very lucky to have these scientists on our board, and Dr. Catherine Brownstein. I won't read their bios there because, yeah, I'm sure you've read about them, but like I say, very lucky to have them on board. And Greg, I think you're going to take it from here.
Yeah, so here we've just got a timeline of the organization. It's kind of funny. It seems like it's been a really long time that we've been doing this, but actually it's really, in the grand scheme of things, not very long, since even the syndrome was discovered back in 2014. We formed our Facebook group shortly afterwards with a small group of us who connected through the initial studies. And then, in 2017 was when we formed the society as a legal entity and set up the first board shortly after our first family conference get together in Houston in that year. We had our awareness week for the first time in 2019. You guys will be aware that's an annual community celebration and fundraising drive that we do to try to raise awareness and funds. And in 2020, we underwent a bit of an evolution of the organization and joined some industry associations of rare disease charities, NORD, which is a US organization, and Global Genes, which is a global organization, and added our scientific advisory board that Emily just mentioned, which allowed us to, along with the funds that we'd raised along the way, initiate our research grant program in 2021. And we're now on to our third annual research grant, which we can talk a little bit more about later, but which I hope you guys have all seen the announcements and blog posts for. I'm going to try and shift the slide, but yep. And so along the way, I guess what we've been able to do is connect around 430 odd families who are related to persons who've been diagnosed with Xia-Gibbs syndrome, who come from at least 49 countries, where the count is a little fuzzy on that, but I think it's 49 countries now. And of those people, 151 have joined our patient registry. Which is a very good proportion. We encourage anyone who hasn't joined the registry to go ahead and do that. We'll talk more about the importance of the registry along the way, but that really provides the only resource for research into Xia-Gibbs syndrome. So if you're able to join the registry, you're supporting research. And we have all of us, yourselves included, being able to allocate around 150,000 US dollars to research funding so far along the way, which honestly is both a great result and also just a drop in the ocean of what's possible and necessary to make an impact in this rare disease space. So everybody keep going. We have two main programs that we run as the organization. I mentioned research, and we'll come back to that, but the other is that we run family conferences. And the organization was born out of a meeting between families in Houston back in 2017, and we all felt the power of that kind of personal and in-person connection between ourselves and between our loved ones with Xia-Gibbs syndrome and with the researchers who discovered and are working on the syndrome. So it was a great shame that the global pandemic kind of halted our ability to continue to bring people together in that way, at least for a period of time. And we're very happy to be able to restart our family conferences next year in May in Houston. And the dates for that are on the Facebook page. We'll be reminding you guys along the way. But please do mark your calendars for that important get together. And if you can be there, we would love to see you. Yep, mentioned a couple of times our research grant program. We're aiming to, allocate research grants every year. In an ideal world, we'd be allocating, multiple grants to different researchers working on different aspects of the syndrome. And that's hopefully something we can build towards. To date, we've been funding a single project through a multi-year program at Baylor College, at the Human Genome Research Center there, and really focused around our patient registry, which, as I mentioned, is a key fundamental resource for research into this very rare disease about which very little is known. So, I mean, it's just on the face of it, researchers need data. And so we were advised by our scientific advisors that, funding a research program to build out that registry, make it easy for researchers to access and keep it in public open source form was the critical and most important project to start with. So we've done that. And we're nearing completion of that project through this last third research grant cycle, at which point we think we'll have a resource that will be very, easy for researchers to access and should promote research into Xia-Gibbs syndrome among many different researchers around the world. So I guess stage one at that point will be kind of complete. We'll have the foundation in place. And hopefully we can push on from there and really start to make a difference in our understanding of the syndrome and potentially actionable outcomes for people who live with it. So you can't do any of that without money. And so, this is our, I guess our balance sheet, you might say, for the year just gone. It's as balance sheets are kind of a busy piece of information, but it's pretty simple. In the bottom left, that's how much money we had at the end of 2022. At that point in time, we'd already designated, or at least we kind of owed another $25,000 as a result of the research grant we'd already allocated. So you can mentally deduct 25,000 from that. And then, we've just awarded another research grant in the last month or two for a further 50. So as you can see, we're down to about $10,000 in the bank, and that's not going to be funding any research. So, just to highlight the importance of, continuing to help us raise funds by, connecting us with your broader networks, promoting the work that we're doing, sharing our content, and, encouraging people that to get involved in our activities. This is more of what you might call an income statement. So it kind of shows at the bottom the net of all of our activity for the year. So you can see in the revenue rows along the close to the top that we raised In the current year, which was the year ending 2022, we raised about $33,000 in contributions. And we spent $25,000 on a research grant. Our expenses are very low. Everybody who works for the organization does so on a voluntary basis. That's the main reason our expenses are so low. And we are, an online organization, right? We don't have any fixed assets, property, or anything like that. So it's really web hosting, subscriptions to Nord, people like that. Some, other kind of odds and ends that we pay for, but you can see it's a pretty light organization. So that's a good thing for donors. It means most of the money that is sent to us goes straight out the door to our programs and doesn't go towards running the organization. So, we're proud of that, and that will continue. And this just highlights we're not raising enough money to cover what we'd like to do on the research side. So, let's keep going. Here's kind of a breakout of where our money is coming from. So this through 2022, you can see the left axis kind of shows you how much we raised in each month. And the right axis is a running total with the line you can see going from left to right. So, that kind of ties to the 33,000 I showed you on the prior slide by the end of the year. And you can see that we have a very, very big reliance on Awareness Week. That's where we raise most of our money. Our objective is actually to diversify into more campaigns, maybe which collectively would raise more money, but individually wouldn't be such a large part of our fundraising. But I think we'll always have a big focus on our Awareness Week because that's really been a great opportunity for the community to get together and celebrate our connection. I'll show you where we're at so far this year when the slide ticks over. On this slide, the green is what we budget for the months to come. So you can see we're targeting to raise a little bit more than last year. We've just kind of upped the bar a little bit. We're trying to get to $40,000. Which would be just about enough, we think, to keep the research grant program going for another year. To date, we're kind of tracking pretty much in line with last year. What's pleasing is that we've been able to kind of raise money despite the fact that we're actually locked out from Facebook fundraising tools for the time being. That's a situation related to complex situation related to filings in the state of California and Facebook policies around that. We're told through Nord that there are lots and lots of rare disease charities that are actually having the same problem with Facebook right now, and Nord is actually lobbying them on behalf of the members. We've filed all our documents and we're just waiting for them to, the state of California, that is, to kind of lodge them correctly, and then for Facebook to recognize that. So we're hoping we'll be back up and running with that technology by the time, certainly by the time we have our Awareness Week in September, fingers crossed. But to date this year, it hasn't actually impacted us. We've been able to raise money through other platforms, primarily through PayPal so far. You'll see if you were noticing that there's a big difference in the July column between what we're budgeting this year versus last year. This year, we're going to have our virtual 5K fundraising event in July, just coming up. Actually, registrations will launch for that shortly. And you'll see that, through the various Facebook and social media channels, as well as if you're signed up to the email newsletter list. I'd encourage you guys all to get involved. We had a really great time the first time we did the 5K in 2021. And that event alone raised about $7,000, which was excellent. If we can get 100 people to register who, collect $100 in donations each, we'll hit a $10,000 target, which will be more than we're budgeting here, as you can see. So that's kind of where we raise and how we raise our money. And one of these kind of key drivers is really expanding our network beyond the social media channels using alternative platforms. I'm trying to move the slide, but I may have gone too far. I'm looking for Kevin's slides, Sam, if you can show those. They should be in the deck after the finance slides. They were set up as hidden initially, so you might need to unhide them. Otherwise, I can share from my desktop. Just let me know. Here we go. So Kevin's going to take us through some slides about the new email newsletter framework that he set up for us.
Thanks, Greg. Yeah, so we wanted to launch a new kind of welcome experience to try and get as many people to sign up to the list to hear as much information about Xia-Gibbs as they can. So the first thing that we did was added a new pop-up that allowed people to give us their email address and then let us know if they were a parent or a primary caregiver. And the reason behind that is we want to respect everyone's inbox and we don't want to send people things that is not as relevant to them as possible. So if you're a parent or primary caregiver, then you're going to get a little bit different of an experience. You're going to be open to the parent and primary caregiver communities where everyone gets to connect and share experiences and learnings. And for the supporters, it's a little bit different, just different ways that they can help out and different information for them. So one of the things with sending emails is you have to understand deliverability and the different inboxes and how they relate to each other and how they deliver emails. And if you are consistently sending a ton of emails and not respecting the rules that the email domains have set up, then that's how you end up in spam, and that's how you end up in the junk and in the promotions tabs. So we want to keep email deliverability high so the likelihood of emails landing in people's inboxes is higher. And the more you send to more people, the higher risk you have of the emails not landing in the inbox. That said, with this new welcome experience, we've seen a list growth of 44% since it's been installed, which is fantastic, given that over the similar time period, the standard increase is about 22.5%. Can we go to the next slide? So some of the factors that also play into deliverability while we're getting this slide updated is like things like open rate and click rate. So the first thing that people are looking at is how many people are getting an email. If you're sending to a ton more people than you have been consistently, then the email domains will assume that you've purchased a list of emails, and then that's how you wind up in the spam folder. Another thing that we look at is the open rate. And one thing that we want to have for an open rate is we shoot for above 30%. If you're above 30%, then the domains assume that you're a legitimate person, individual. I can share my screen if you'd like.
Yeah, sure. I'm sorry, Kevin, if you have it.
Participant screen sharing has been disabled. Is there a way you can give me access to that?
Yeah, you know what? I'm just going to try sharing again. I think my computer just
got stuck, I think.
Got stuck.
Just reshare it, mate.
Can you all see the slide new welcome experience?
Can you move it? There we go.
Yes, this is the one. Okay, so yeah, we want open rate above 30%. That's when the domains say that, okay, this is good enough engagement to push us through to the inbox. And we look at that. How you determine the open rate is just the amount of people that receive it versus the amount of people that open it. The next thing we look at is click rate, and we're looking for between 1% and 4% click rate. And again, that is just the people that receive the email and people that click it. The click-through rate is the truest test of engagement. That is per every email you send, the people that are opening, what percent of people are clicking them. And down below that top information, you can see it's split between campaigns and flows, and the campaigns would be things like newsletters. So you can see our open rate is well above our peer group, and that is just different nonprofit organizations. Our click rate is considerably higher, and our click-through rate is considerably higher, meaning that the information that we're sending, the people that are opening are doing exactly what we want them to do. We want them to click, we want them to go through and digest the information we give them, and then if it's signing up for the auction that we had, if it's going to the website to check out a new blog post, all the information that we're sharing. For the flows, again, it's a little bit more towards the average for the peer group, and that's just because that's typically for like the welcome series. For the open rate, click rate, and click-through rate, you will see nonprofits have a much higher percentage than what is considered good, and that's just because people are emotionally connected to the nonprofits that they are subscribing to. We're no different, and again, we see some pretty good numbers from that. And then can we go to the next slide, please? So my belief is that email is the best way to reach a large group of people, in that Facebook, Instagram, they have their rules on who they decide is going to see things. But if you're playing by email's rules and you're getting into the inbox like we are, people are going to receive the emails on a much bigger percentage basis. So one thing to be looking out for is the monthly newsletters that we've been sending out. There's other announcements that we're going to have coming up. Greg mentioned the 5K that we have. I'm sure there's going to be a few about the in-person conference that we're going to have, and then different reminders and different opportunities to help the research team. And can we go to the next slide, please? And so how you can help is just tell everyone, make sure you're signed up to the emails, and you can just go to the website, and if you don't get the pop-up, then there's you're probably already signed up to it, or there is the input at the bottom in the footer of the webpage. That'll get you signed up, and then just tell everyone, tell your friends and family, tell your whole network to sign up. At anytime you see an email, open it, click it, make sure that we're helping out with our deliverability. And then when you are signed up, if you can go into your email contact list and make sure that we're added as a contact, that is another great way to get directly into the inbox. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to highlight just how powerful this is. We obviously created and grew this community together through Facebook. Facebook was the dominant platform for people to connect with one another at that time. But, the world's changing. Things are diversifying, fragmenting. We're not finding we're reaching as many people that way reliably. And so having Kevin on board is really, really powerful for us to be able to build out this way of reaching everybody through email. And in case it just went unnoticed there, the main thing to take out of that is if you open our email, that helps other people see our emails in their inbox rather than in their spam folders. So even if you actually know the information already, if you just open it and click on it, that's going to help other people who don't know the information to see it. And that's really the power of what Kevin's understanding of these email rules brings to us. So please help us out by opening and clicking on the emails, and that will help everybody else too.
Amazing. Thanks, Kevin and Greg. So what's next? This is our last slide before we click over to questions. As you can see, we have a virtual 5K, 5 kilometers coming up. We're really excited about that. This year, we've changed to a different provider to kind of help us communicate with each other throughout the event. Registrations will be opening in the next day, so very soon. We're aiming for 100 registrants, and we're looking to raise, on average, $100 for each of those registrants. So yeah, I think obviously it would be lovely if for events like this, we were all in the same place. But the beauty, I guess, of a virtual event like the virtual 5K is no matter where you are, you can participate locally. And it's lovely, you know, in the past we've noticed it's lovely being able to see people's tracked walks and runs and on the app. So we're looking forward to doing that again this year with a bit more of a ramped up version. Every year, as you know, we have our awareness week, and this year it's in September again, really as a celebration of our global community. And as Greg was saying earlier, also our biggest fundraising event of the year. So we're looking forward to that as well. And one thing we're hugely looking forward to is finally getting together next year. That'll be the first time since our event in Florida, which was just prior or just as the global pandemic was starting. So really exciting to have that coming up. I'm actually just going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to have a look in the chat. Maybe, Greg, if you've had a chance, have you noticed any questions coming through?
Yeah, no specific questions I can see so far. So if anyone wants to ask a question, please go ahead and let us know, either by just shouting out or putting your hand up. Or I see in the chat that Joe Little, who has an announcement for us. I should say Joe helped us set up our technology platforms at the start, so thank you for that, Joe. He's the reason why we have our our email addresses with our Google domain. So thank you, Joe. So I'll let Joe speak.
Yeah, just a quick update, and just as more of a thank you. I think last one of these, or at least an overview session, Dr. Gibbs gave an update on some of the research, and I was able to hook up with Dr. Anthony Oro at Stanford, and I worked there as well. And the update is, after a lot of machinations and whatnot, we were able to work out basically a sample provided to Dr. Oro, and there's apparently 3 studies kicking off from that sample. He does stuff with basically stem cells and whatnot to basically build out different materials, somewhat not same as mouse models, but somewhat similar, and sort of how to do some studies on the underlying condition. So I don't know what will come of this, but it's something that at least we're very much willing to participate in and see what comes of it. I can answer questions about that perhaps, but pretty much this was the main thing. And again, thank you to Dr. Gibbs for hooking us up.
Incredible, Joe. And were they oh, sorry, I see Richard, you're here. I don't know if you want to comment.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. So Dr. Oro's made some really great contributions, and I think some of you know this. He's identified that the gene underlying Xia-Gibbs is actually, one of its roles is as a very early cellular differentiation director. The link between that and the mutations in the gene and the actual disorder is still uncertain. But this opens up a whole new avenue for investigation. Now, one of his areas of expertise is in generating these iPSCs, these induced pluripotent stem cells. And that's the contribution that Joe has made, is to work with the Stanford group to supply a skin punch, right, Joe? Or was it just from blood?
It was actually a punch biopsy. So it's 2 1 meter by 1 meter, I guess, samples. They were afraid of one would be not sufficient. So he was under surgery for something else, and it was the opportunity to get a sample that way.
Right. So the technology for making these kind of cells has come along very well, and we should be doing more of that. 2 other cell lines like this have now appeared, one in Brazil and one in China. We'd like to make some in Houston as well, and tend to work with Monica and you as a group to ask who locally here might consent for such a program.
Strangely enough, the sample went to Baylor. Just went out. It took a while. Just this past week, it's going out for a check on one condition. This is the mitochondria, the complex 4 deficiency, because they don't normally do these anymore. So apparently, the only place to do these is Baylor. So I was told it's heading that way right now.
Yeah, we have many Baylors, Joe. It's a point of eternal confusion in Texas. Baylor University, Baylor Dallas, Baylor Medical School. There's also a Baylor Genetics commercial group, which has expertise in mitochondrial disorders. And I suspect that's as a provider, commercial provider, Dr. Oro reached out to them. But thank you for letting me know that. I can ask around and see.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. That's intriguing. What was the motivation for doing the mitochondrial analysis?
This is with Dr. N's original one we worked with, and the idea was simply to we had this one-off thing with Haru, which is he had also the complex fluoride deficiency, and wasn't sure if what that meant for his energy and other production, and we weren't sure if that was at the time of situation, if that has changed, that rate has changed over time. So once we had the sample to help us to determine if we're still at the same, basically at a 25% level 4 process rate back when he was a child, and basically an infant, and it definitely was much higher than that now, I think. So we think the condition has changed, and that was our interest in, hey, if we got the sample, let's confirm this.
Well, I'm thinking this discussion really is most particular to your family, Joe, rather than a signal to the others on the call that
Yes,
the mitochondrial deficiency follow-up is recommended. But
yeah,
I'll
that's
talk
why
to
I want to be there.
Yeah, very interesting. Thank you. I'm so glad that you're working with him. And yeah, you live quite close by, right? To the Stanford group.
Our offices are adjacent.
Yeah,
We're in
excellent.
adjacent buildings.
Okay. Well, just while I've got the floor, I think, first of all, thanks to the Society. And I'm your number one fan. The support that you've given has brought the registry to a point where I do hope soon that we can have it fully sort of interflowing with all the members of the Society. You know, we're working through mainly compliance issues about data access. So members of the Society as parents will be able to look up epidemiological data. Researchers, and we may have to work out the particulars of some of the access rules for compliance, will be able to delve deeper and use the data freely for research. So that's been our objective, and we're getting close to that. And finally, I think really the breadth of the work that is focusing on this disease very slowly widening, and the work in the registry has enabled a lot of that. Dr. Oro's contributions have been tremendous in, I think, opening up a whole new avenue of interest. So I'm hoping that there'll be lots of federal agencies that when they see the name of the gene and the disorder, they will recognize that this is an important area for funding as we move ahead. Anyway, thank you for letting me sit on your board call.
Thank you for joining us. Incredible. Does anyone else have any questions or anything they'd like to raise while we're here together? Nothing right now. Well, yeah, just want to thank everybody again for coming along, and we're hoping to hold some more of these types of things, not necessarily going through board material, but just other types of awareness events. So look out for those, and look out for our very soon to be accessible virtual K sign up, virtual 5K sign up, that is. Yeah, that'll be hitting your inboxes very soon. And other than that, we'll see you all in the group. Thanks, everyone.